Angus Young is one of the most famous names in rock music history. For decades, he has been the face of ACDC, the guitarist in the schoolboy uniform, and the man behind some of the greatest riffs ever written. When people think of hard rock, they often picture Angus duckwalking across the stage, his Gibson SG slung low, sweat dripping from his brow, and electricity running through every note he plays. But recently, whispers and rumors have started to spread about his future. In early 2025, fans began to wonder if Angus was finally ready to call it quits. Some thought it was just age catching up to him, while others believed there was something deeper going on. The debate grew even stronger after a cryptic open letter that Angus shared following ACDC's sold-out Wembley concert. This letter was filled with gratitude, nostalgia, and what many people described as a sense of completion. For some, it sounded like a goodbye. For others, it was simply a thank you message to the fans. But when tabloids began publishing stories that Angus had told close friends he was ready to step away, the speculation reached new heights. What was really happening behind the scenes? Was Angus being pushed by industry pressures, or was this a decision coming from the heart? To find the answer, we need to look at not just the present, but also the history of ACDC, the challenges they've faced, and the legacy that Angus has built over nearly 5 decades of rock dominance. In May 2025, during the Power Up World Tour, ACDC performed at Gillette Stadium. A short video from that night went viral on TikTok, sparking a storm across social media. In the clip, Brian Johnson's vocals were almost drowned out by the crowd, leading critics to claim that the band was no longer capable of delivering the same high-energy performances they were once famous for. Some fans even said that watching Angus, now in his 70s, still wearing his schoolboy outfit, was more of a reminder of time passing than a tribute to rock history. Many began calling for the band to retire before they risked damaging their reputation. But not everyone agreed. Just as many fans defended ACDC, saying that even at their age, the band still brought more energy to the stage than most young rock acts today. Supporters pointed out that ticket sales remained sky-high, and that the so-called decline did not match the numbers. In fact, by June 26, Ticketmaster reported a record-breaking day with more than 370,000 tickets sold across different shows. While over 1.7 million people waited in digital queues, the demand was so overwhelming that extra dates had to be added. When ACDC played their Wembley concert, it was nothing short of legendary. The show was described as emotional, nostalgic, and filled with the same electricity the band was known for. After the concert, Angus posted a heartfelt open letter to fans thanking them for decades of loyalty and calling the Wembley night a moment of completion. This letter, however, only fueled more rumors. Was Angus hinting at his final bow, or was it simply a rare emotional message from a man who usually keeps his private feelings hidden? Angus Young is not just a guitarist, he is a symbol of rock and roll. For nearly 50 years, he has been the driving force behind ACDC, one of the biggest bands in the history of music. With his iconic schoolboy uniform, endless energy, and unforgettable guitar riffs, Angus became a legend who inspired millions. But in 2025, fans began asking a question they never thought they would face. Is Angus finally ready to step away from the stage? Rumors started swirling after a video from their Power Up World Tour went viral on TikTok. In the short clip, Brian Johnson's singing was nearly drowned out by the roaring crowd. And some critics claimed that ACDC no longer had the same fire they once had. They argued that age had finally caught up to the band, and that Angus, now in his 70s, could not keep performing like before. However, others strongly disagreed. Many fans defended Angus and his bandmates, saying that they still had more energy than most modern acts. Ticket sales proved them right. In fact, demand for ACDC shows reached record-breaking levels, with hundreds of thousands of tickets sold within hours. When the band performed at Wembley Stadium, the concert was described as one of their most emotional and powerful shows ever. After that night, Angus posted an open letter to fans, thanking them for nearly 5 decades of loyalty, and describing Wembley as a moment of completion. While many saw it as a heartfelt thank you, others felt it was a hidden farewell message. Soon, tabloids added fuel to the fire by reporting that Angus had told friends 2025 would be his final year. Suddenly, what started as a simple letter turned into a mystery. Was this truly the end of Angus Young's journey with ACDC, or just another chapter in his long career? The reaction to Angus Young's letter was intense. Fans all over the world began sharing memories of how ACDC's music had shaped their lives. Social media was flooded with posts about first concerts, favorite songs, and how Angus' energy inspired entire generations. Yet, the emotional side of the letter could not hide the rumors. Some news outlets reported that Angus was tired of the growing corporate control over ACDC. According to these stories, management wanted to push the band into modern trends, partnerships, and branded products. For Angus, who had always been loyal to the raw spirit of rock, this was a betrayal of what the band truly stood for. On online forums like Reddit, fans debated whether Angus was frustrated with how the image of ACDC was being sold. To him, ACDC was about gritty riffs, leather jackets, and pure energy, not hashtags and corporate deals. The lack of any official statement from the band only made the rumors worse. Was Angus walking away because of health and age, or because he no longer agreed with how ACDC was being run? For the fans, the mystery made things even more emotional. They were not just asking whether Angus would retire. They were asking why. Was it a choice made out of love for music, or was it a stand against the industry? Regardless of the answer, the Wembley letter became a historic moment. Angus did not say goodbye outright, but his words about completion felt too powerful to ignore. If this really was his last year, it seemed he wanted to end on his own terms, with a sense of dignity, respect, and gratitude for everyone who had been part of ACDC's journey. To understand Angus Young's current struggles, it helps to look back at the challenges ACDC has faced before. Over the years, the band has survived more than most groups could handle. In 2016, frontman Brian Johnson was forced to leave the Rock or Bust tour after doctors warned that continuing to perform could result in permanent hearing loss. For a singer whose life was built around music, it was a devastating blow. The band faced a choice: cancel the rest of the tour or find a replacement. Angus made the difficult decision to continue, bringing in Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses to finish the shows. Fans were divided. Some loved the idea of two rock legends joining forces, while others felt no one could replace Brian. Behind the scenes, the decision left scars. Brian later admitted that being replaced felt like finding a stranger in your house. But Angus defended the choice, saying Axl had saved the band during a crisis. Just a couple of years earlier, another storm had shaken ACDC. In 2014, drummer Phil Rudd was arrested in New Zealand and charged with serious crimes, including drug possession and threats to kill. Though the most serious charge was dropped, Rudd still faced legal trouble and could not tour with the band. Once again, Angus had to act quickly, replacing him with Chris Slade. These moments showed Angus' resilience and determination to keep the band alive, no matter the circumstances. Many bands would have collapsed under this pressure, but Angus' leadership kept ACDC moving forward. These crises, however, also took an emotional toll. Each time, Angus had to make painful choices, balancing loyalty to his bandmates with the survival of the group. These experiences shaped the man who now stands at the edge of what might be his final chapter. Perhaps the greatest challenge Angus ever faced was the loss of his older brother Malcolm. As co-founder of ACDC and the band's rhythm guitarist, Malcolm was more than just a family member, he was the backbone of the band. Together, the brothers built ACDC's sound, with Angus' fiery solos balanced by Malcolm's rock-solid riff. In 2014, it was revealed that Malcolm was suffering from dementia, a heartbreaking diagnosis that forced him to step away from music. In 2017, Malcolm passed away, leaving a hole that could never truly be filled. For Angus, the loss was personal and professional. He lost not only his brother, but also his partner in music, the person who had always been by his side. Many fans wondered if this would be the end of ACDC, but Angus carried on, determined to honor Malcolm's memory. In 2020, the band released the album Power Up, which became a tribute to Malcolm. Angus used old riffs and ideas the two had worked on together, turning them into new songs. The album brought back Brian Johnson, Phil Rudd, and Cliff Williams, reuniting the classic lineup. For Angus, Power Up was more than just another release, was a promise kept. He had always said that ACDC was built on the bond between him and Malcolm, and by creating new music from their shared ideas, he gave fans one last gift from both of them. The success of Power Up showed that ACDC still had the power to dominate the charts, but for Angus, the emotional journey was far more important. Every note carried the weight of his brother's legacy, and playing those songs on stage was a way to keep Malcolm alive in the hearts of millions, even if Angus Young were to retire tomorrow. His place in music history is already secure. His style, energy, and commitment to rock and roll have influenced generations of musicians. Angus was never about technical perfection, he was about feeling. His solos, while rooted in blues, carried a wild energy that few could match. His famous duck walk, inspired by Chuck Berry, became one of the most recognizable moves in rock history. In 2003, ACDC was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Angus proudly accepted the honor in his schoolboy uniform, showing the world that he never needed to change who he was. Over the years, he has received numerous awards, including being named the greatest Australian guitarist of all time by Australian Guitar Magazine in 2012. Guitarists from Slash to Dave Grohl have cited him as an influence, proving that his impact goes far beyond AC/DC fans. His image, sweat-soaked, guitar-blazing, and endlessly moving, became the very definition of rock for many. What makes Angus even more unique is his discipline off-stage. Unlike many rock stars, he never drank alcohol and lived a relatively quiet life with his wife Ellen, whom he married in the 1980s. While others chased fame and excess, Angus focused on the music. This contrast between his wild stage persona and his calm private life only adds to his mystique. Whether he chooses to continue or retire, Angus has already given the world a legacy that will last forever. His riffs will keep filling stadiums, and his energy will inspire future musicians who dream of carrying rock into the next generation. Despite being one of the biggest names in rock, Angus Young has always kept his personal life private. Away from the stage, he avoids the spotlight and rarely gives interviews. His long marriage to Ellen Van Lockham stands out in an industry where relationships often collapse under pressure. Together, they have built a quiet life split between homes in Australia, the Netherlands, and the UK. Angus has often said that he prefers staying away from celebrity culture. He doesn't use social media, avoids public drama, and spends most of his time focused on music or family. This quiet lifestyle is one reason why fans were so surprised by the emotional letter he posted after the Wembley concert. For a man who rarely shows his private feelings, the letter felt unusually personal, almost like a confession. It revealed not only gratitude but also vulnerability, a sense that he had reached the end of a long journey. This makes the rumors of retirement even more believable. Angus is not the type to